Hello guys and welcome to series 3 of Sales Growth Academy Level 1. Today we're going to be diving into cold calling. Now this series is all about calling and phone sales. So cold calling, warm inbound calling and triage calling. Now this is what separates the best setters from the average setters. The best setters I've seen have always been great in the DMs, but they've been amazingly confident over the phones as well. And cold calling is by far the hardest of the phone sales, because warm calling is inbound leads, triage calling are people you've already had booked calls in and conversations with, but cold calling is completely cold. Cold calling is the art of reaching out to someone who doesn't know who you are at all and picking up the phone, belling them down and getting them to commit to a 30-minute call with you. And you need to be able to do this within the space of a couple of minutes. You don't want to keep someone on the cold call for too long because you need to be respectful of their time. So cold calling is by far the most challenging, but I'm going to make it very easy for you guys. Now, obviously, this is going to be a very detailed masterclass on how to cold call. However, cold calling really comes through just experience, and you develop that skill over time of practice again and again. So make sure you take notes on this, but make sure you attend all of the role play sessions. And on the role play sessions, we're going to be diving into how to cold call and just doing that over and over again, because the more you practice, the better you're going to get. But let's dive into it anyway. Now, cold calling, first and foremost, is a scary thing, right? It's scary. You're about to pick up the phone. The person doesn't know you. There's a load of things going to go on in your head thinking, is this person going to tell me to fuck off? Is this person going to reject me? And you need to break that fear, and you need to be able to handle rejection, because the reality is you're going to get it. Right? And you just need to be in a position where you don't take it personally. It's just a cold call. You're just doing your job. And you need to prepare yourself mentally and physically for that experience. So the great things happen on the other side of fear, right? If you're afraid to take the cold call, the moment you pick that cold call up and you have a great conversation, great things are going to happen, right? And this is a case for absolutely everything in your life. If you fear something, you need to dive into the deep end and say fuck it and put yourself in the position to face that fear, because facing the fear is the only way you're going to overcome it. And in a cold call scenario, facing that fear is actually just picking up the phone and doing it. But you guys are it's great that you guys have access to the role play sessions, because you can face that fear with your community, with your team, with us at Sales Growth Club. You can face that fear with us. So when it comes to the time where you are making those phone calls and those cold calls, then the fear isn't there, right? Because you've already role played it, you've rehearsed it time and time again. So like I said, cold calling is one of the toughest sales skills to master. And a lot of the time, you guys are going to be thinking, okay, what's next for me? I'm a setter now, then I need to become a closer, then I need to become a business owner. And in order to become a closer, you need to be closing face-to-face deals, you need to be on the phone with prospects. Cold calling is the segue to get in there. If you can master cold calling, then you're one step further to being a closer. And not only to being a closer, but to being a great closer. Because I know closers who can't cold call, right? But those closers aren't the best closers because they can't cold call. So once you master cold calling, you are an elite setter. And I mean that. So cold calling is tough, but not because of its complexity, right? It's actually very straightforward. And cold calling is actually the fastest way to book appointments. And it's actually the easiest way to book appointments. Think about it. In a DM scenario, you have to have a conversation with someone long enough. You have to engage them the whole time. You have to make sure that they're constantly replying. They have to stay in the DMs. They have to book in through a link and all of that sort of stuff. It's harder to keep someone engaged in a DM, and it's a longer conversation. You have to put more energy into converting that lead. However, with a cold call, it's a 2-minute conversation over the phone. You have to capture their attention enough so they don't hang up on you. You have to engage them enough, but then it's the easiest way to book a meeting because you've got them right there, right? There's no waiting around for their response. There's no being left on red. There's no sending a link out and then being ignored. You've got them right there on the phone. You've got their attention, As long as you do well with their attention, you will go far. So it's not because cold calling is complex, it's just because it demands composure and fearlessness. And that's what makes it difficult, right? It's having the ability to handle rejection, to stay confident, and to lead the conversation. And that's what sets the best sales reps apart from the average sales reps. And again, the setting space is massively crowded with a number of different setters, and it's the best setters that are going to land the best offers, that are going to make the best money, right? The average setters are going to get left behind because the space is, again, it's very crowded. So you need to stand out amongst all of the bullshit, because there are a lot of setters out there looking for the same offers as you. So how can you position yourself as the best, right? Especially in a saturated market, right? So cold calling, you want to master it and you will be ahead of the competition. Now, it all starts with your mind, right? The common fear for reps and taking cold calls is going to hold you back from succeeding, right? It's like, oh, I'm more comfortable in the DMs. I'm more comfortable inbound. Okay, well, if you're more comfortable in inbound and DMs, then you're going to stay an inbound caller and DM setter. You're never going to make that transition. Cold calling is more valued in the market because all you need is a number and a skilled rep, and you can convert meetings. Inbound, you need to invest in ads, you need to invest in systems that attract leads, and it's more focused on the business owner's time, right? And inbound setters are usually paid lower commissions because of all of that. So if you just like inbound, then, you know, be satisfied with your 5% commission, right? And 5% commission on a payment plan isn't going to be enough to feed you. Right, so cold calling, you're going to get the bigger commissions, you're going to get more respect up front from the business owner, and you're ultimately going to grow more. But you need to position your mind, and you need to get into the mindset of someone who can handle that, who can overcome those fears, and who can take whatever necessary steps are needed in order to be successful. So you need to start with your mind. Now, the common fears around cold calling are as such. The prospect might not want to hear from me, right? Okay, cool. You don't pick up the phone because a prospect might not want to hear from you. All right, fine. I might be disturbing their day. Yeah, you might be disturbing their day. That's true. What if they tell me to fuck off? Yeah, you probably will get told to fuck off a few times. I mean, I spent about 2.5 years, almost 3 years, just purely cold calling. I was cold called day in and day out, and I would be calling C-level executives who definitely didn't want to speak to me, and I got told to fuck off many times. There were a few situations where I got called back by a few people that I cold called, and they would hate on me because I cold called their team. Because I cold called their entire team, they started talking about it like, oh, this person's cold calling us, they're saying X, Y, and Z. And then I got a call back from the manager, and he was like, I don't like cold callers. And yeah, shit happens, right? You can't take it personally. What if I freeze up? Well, yep, you just have to be really prepared, and you have to know exactly what to say so you don't freeze up. What if they hang up on me? Yep, in some cases they might. These are the common fears. And the reality is, all of these things are going to happen, right? Every single one of those things are going to happen to you in your career. Prospects don't always want to hear from you, right? There's going to be times where you are disturbing their day. They're probably, making their kids dinner and you're cold calling them. Yeah, it's going to happen. They're probably going to tell you to fuck off. There's going to come a time where you do freeze up because you just don't know how to handle one of their responses or their objections. And that's just part of the learning process. And they're 100% going to hang up on you, right? That's just the reality of it. So if they don't do all of those things, if those things haven't happened to you, you simply haven't made enough dials, right? You want to treat it so that you actually want those things to happen, because then you know that you're doing the right thing, right? You're making the calls, you're being consistent. And how you overcome that is just by keep going, right? And that's what makes the difference between the A players and the D players. The D players have those objections, right? The D players are told to fuck off. The D players freeze up. Okay, everyone freezes up at some point. It's okay. The D players go in there with the fear that they're going to disturb someone else's day. But the A players, they just pick up the phone and they do their job, right? They dial and they have a conversation and they book meetings and they keep going. And the A players get told to fuck off too. The A players freeze up too. But the difference between the A players and the D players is the D players stop and the A players keep going, right? So that's how you need to overcome those realities and just diminish that fear, right? Because again, it does all start with your mind. So how do you prepare before dialing, right? How do you prepare yourself? How do you get yourself into a mental state where you can make cold calls and not feel the fear, and you can overcome that and just pick up the phone? So first things first, just breathe, right? Breathe and understand that you're just calling another human. That's all you're doing. You're picking up the phone, you're having a conversation with someone who, by the way, is going to find value in what you have to say. And that's another thing, right? You need to understand that when you're making cold calls, you're not just calling anyone. You're calling ideal prospects. And these ideal prospects most likely have the pains that you're able to solve. So there is a reason for you to call them. But as long as you go into that call knowing that there is a reason to call, like you have a genuine reason why you're calling, then just breathe. You're calling another human and you're just there looking to help, right? It's not that deep, yeah? Secondly, you just need to understand that this person does not know you, so it's nothing personal. Right? Don't take their fuck offs or don't take them hanging up the phone personally. In fact, if they hang up the phone on you, call them back and say, oh, I think we just got disconnected. It must be my connection. How you doing? Right? Act like it didn't even happen. Don't take it personally. Right? Don't take anything about this personally, because if you do, it's just going to impact the rest of your day. And you can't allow someone else's fuck off to ruin the rest of your day and destroy your chances of making any money. Because again, you're on a commission basis. So you need to be in control over the outcomes. You need to be in control over your income, right? So don't allow anyone else to destroy or disrupt your day. Third, they are still a person, so be respectful. Now, even if they aren't super respectful to you, understand that you are disturbing their day at the end of the day, so it's fine. Just be respectful, pick up the phone, have a genuine conversation, be friendly. If they object, then handle those objections with respect. 4, make sure that you have a valid and valuable reason to call. Like I mentioned, you can't just pick up the phone and be unsure about why you're even calling someone. Right? There needs to be a valid and valuable reason. I'm calling you because of this. I'm calling you specifically because of this. Right? And that's what's going to keep them on the call, because it's specific to them. Make sure you know who you're calling. Right? Know their name. Know their occupation, know their role, and know their pain. Now, their pain is something that you're going to have to extract, but you should know roughly what their pains are. Because if you know their occupation, and you know their role, and you understand the types of pain that that person in that occupation or that person in that role are likely going to be facing. So, for example, if they are a marketing director at a C-level marketing director at a global company, right? The marketing director's pains might be, their ads, they're not receiving a big enough return on ad spend, or their content strategy is a bit lazy, or the employees underneath them aren't, working hard enough, or whatever that might be. You understand roughly what those pains might be, and then you call them out. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail about how you can call out those pains, but you need to have a rough understanding of who you're calling, right? So what's their name? Hey, is that Sarah? Or hey, Sarah, right? You need to know that off the bat. Their occupation, their role, and their pain. It's really important. And then finally, just be calm, be composed, and be your authentic self, right? Because like I said, you're just having another conversation. There doesn't need to be this tight pressure around you. Just sit back, relax, pick up the phone, and just act like you're talking to anyone else. It's really that simple. So now getting into the actual call. The psychology behind the first impression and your tonality is going to be really, really important, because the first impression is what engages the prospect. If your first impression is shit, then that's where you're going to get people hanging up on you. You need to stand out instantly so they feel the need to continue that conversation with you. So how do we do this? The first 10 seconds of the call is where you show who you are and give the reasons as to why they should stay on the phone with you. The first 10 seconds of that call will be a make or break, right? Because the prospects don't know who you are. They might be very busy and they're literally one red button away from ending that call. So if you don't grab their attention right away, it is curtains for you, right? It's just not going to happen. So here are a few hooks that you can use to basically capture that attention, but find something that resonates with you, right? Because the last thing you want to do in a cold call is be following a script. Now, I don't want to provide any scripts. The only thing I would do is provide openers, questions that you can ask, but I really encourage you guys to make this your own and make it flow naturally for you. And if this stuff doesn't feel natural, then simply don't use it, because what works for someone isn't going to work for everyone. So these are just a few examples, but create your own. So take note of these, but just really adapt it to your own personality. So first example: hi John, would I be completely ruining your day if I told you this was a cold call? It works for some people, and it works for the delivery for some people, and it also works on the receiving end for some people, but it's not going to work for everyone. Someone might turn around and say, yes you are, bye, right, and then you fucked it. So it works, but it doesn't always work. Now, I personally don't like calling out the fact that this is a cold call, because it just feels like salesy to me. I would rather just go in there and be like, look, I have something really incredible to ask you, or to show you, or to present to you. Can I take 2 minutes of your time just to walk you through this? If it's not reasonable, then you can hang up the call there. That's kind of like the approach that I would rather take. However, some people like it, so just find the style that works best for you. Hey John, I appreciate this is out of the blue. My colleague actually gave me your number, so I wanted to connect with you personally. Am I right in saying that XYZ? Whatever your call to whatever your point is. I like that one. I think it's really good, especially if you are a business owner, or if you're higher up in the company. Let's say you're a head of sales and someone gave you a number. It positions you as more of an authority by saying, my colleague gave me a number, so I wanted to reach out personally. That perceives you as an authority, but it also gives them, the prospect, the feeling that they are important, because you're personally reaching out to them. So now they feel that there's a reason that they should stay on the call. Hi name, or hi John, I'm aware, insert whatever relevant information. For example, I'm aware you're running the marketing department at Kone, so I wanted to drop you a call. Have you got 30 seconds to hear why I'm calling you specifically? And if it's not relevant, we can end the call right there. Now, this is the one that I saw quite a lot of success with, if I'm being completely honest, because the relevant information there is an understanding that you know exactly who that prospect is, and you wanted to reach out to them personally. So the word here, specifically and personally, works really well, because now the prospect feels like I'm actually being spoken to, not because you're dialing from a list of 100 people and I'm just a number, but because someone actually has a reason to call me. So I want to hear what they have to say, right? So the words you use really do make an impact. So that one works really well for me. Hi John, I was wondering if you can help me. I'm looking to speak with the person in charge of whatever pain point. So I'm looking to speak with a person in charge of managing sales teams at Just Eat. I see you're the sales director. Are you the right person to speak to about solving problems regarding your sales team's close rate? Right? Like, that works really well, because you are being very, very specific about a problem. You're being specific about the pain point, and you're literally looking for the right person to speak to. So I was wondering if you can help me. It's not like, oh, I'm the person, but maybe I can help you. So yeah, sure. What do you need help with? Well, I'm looking to speak with the person in charge of sales team performance at Just Eat. I see you're the sales director for particular business unit. Are you the right person to speak to about solving the close rates of your account executives? Okay. Yeah, I am actually the right person to speak to. Oh, perfect. And then you go into your pitch, right? And then we're going to get into how to pitch in just a minute. You don't want to pitch your product, you always want to pitch the outcome, but we'll dive into that in just a second. So there are a few hooks that you can try. Now, the reality is you can use all of these hooks, right? You can try all of them. And the ones that worked for me might not work for you. The ones that work for you might not work for me. But it's not always about what you say. It's about how you say it, right? Your tonality is going to trigger a myriad of different emotions here, right? Like, if you say something abruptly, they might feel like they're being confronted and then they might back away or hang up or resist. But if you say it in a friendly tone, then they're going to be more open because they're going to feel like you are someone that they actually want to talk to. So you must decide initially how you want your prospects to perceive you. Now, if you've had a conversation with them before and you know that they're like a direct, straight to the point kind of person, then be direct and straight to the point. If they're quite friendly, then be friendly. Match who you believe they are, right? And look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their Instagram, have an understanding of who this person is before you call them as well, if you're able to. If not, just judge it based on how they respond to the opening, right? Hello, is that Sarah? Yes, this is Sarah. Okay, cool. Now you have to adjust your personality to be more direct because Sarah sounds like she don't want to have fucking time for this. But if it was like, oh yeah, this is Sarah, I'd be like, oh, amazing. Match their tonality instantly. So the friendly tone. Now, the friendly tone is going to drop your prospect guard, right? With the right energy, you're going to be able to create a safe environment for your prospect, and it's going to encourage them to stay on the phone. Now, this works really well for building relationships, but when it comes to things like probing for pain, it's not going to work so well. Right? Because when you're probing for pain, you want to be a bit more curious, right? You don't want to be friendly and bubbly when you're probing for pain. Friendly tone is more about opening that conversation, getting a prospect to stay on the phone, making them feel comfortable. And that's how you start the relationship. Then you have the concern tone. Now, the concern tone is what creates curiosity. So your prospects probably are probably thinking, well, what does he know? That's what you want them to think. Oh, what does he know? What can he share with me? Because the moment they start thinking, what does he know? They want to pay attention because they want to know exactly what you know. So this is a great tone to speak about the pain that you're aware of at a company or a common pain within the industry you're targeting. So be like, well, I speak with a number of people who are also running marketing agencies, and typically they experience a few pains around XYZ. Just curious. Do any of these resonate with you? Right, it's a bit more concerned, be like, or you can probe a little bit, be like, yeah. So why do you think that is? Why do you feel like this is a pain for you? Right, it's a bit more concerned. You drop the tone a little bit, and it makes them think, oh, okay, well, what's going on there? Right? So with the concern tone, even when you're getting resistance, it's a great way to basically speak about the consequence of their inaction. Right? So using a concern tone is very good for when you're highlighting pain and when you're probing the consequence of inaction. But what if you do nothing? Right? But what if you do nothing about X pain? Right? It's a concern tone and it makes them think, oh yeah, true. What if I do nothing? Right? Now, the final one is the curious tone. The curious tone is a perfect way of extracting information from your prospect. So when you're in the discovery phase, you want to be using the curious tone because they feel as though you're genuinely interested, and then they're more likely to open up. If you're genuinely interested in someone, then they feel that and they feel that understanding, then they're more likely to be open with you. So use things like, oh, well, why do you think that is? Why do you think this is a problem for you? What have you tried in the past, if you don't mind me asking, to overcome that challenge, right? You're curious now, and it's not a dramatic change in the way you deliver your iterations either. It's literally just dropping the decibels, increasing certain areas, changing your flow a little bit, and you can really change the scene of a cold call. So the friendly tone, the concern tone, and the curious tone are really important to stay mindful of when you're taking a cold call. Now, the key to managing those tones is literally just being authentic, right? Now, naturally, you're going to switch your tonality throughout the conversation depending on the context, but just be authentic with it. Right? You don't need to be friendly the entire way because you're not going to be friendly when you're probing for pain. That's not authentic, right? Or you're not going to be curious when you're opening up the conversation. I mean, you might be, but you're not going to be concerned when you're opening up the conversation. So just really adapt your tonality in an authentic way, right? Don't just show one tonality. Don't just be friendly. Don't just be curious. Don't just be concerned. Right? Use a variety of different tonalities depending on the context of the conversation. Now, I'm going to walk through a few frameworks now that will guarantee success in a cold call. We've gone through openers, we're going to go through different discovery questions and everything to basically position yourself as an expert and ensure that you deliver the best cold calls. So first things first, openers. Now, when you're opening up a cold call conversation, much like your hook, it needs to be the appropriate tonality, it needs to be confident, and it needs to be clear. So here are a few that have always worked for me, but again, adjust these things around, adjust these frameworks and find one that's suitable for you. But what works for me is I typically hear when speaking with other marketing agencies that they're often frustrated with either high client churn, not closing enough deals, or inconsistent return on ad spend. Which would you say resonates with you the most, right? So the good thing about this is you call out 3 problems in the space and you position yourself as an industry expert in that space. So if you're calling other marketing agencies, for example, or other fitness coaches or whatever that looks like, other sales reps, if you're calling them up and then you're calling out 3 problems that you typically hear in that industry, the prospect is instantly going to believe that you're an expert in that space because you know the main problems that they have. And you need to know these problems. Obviously, if you're targeting this audience, then it's imperative that you understand what problems that they're experiencing. But once you call them out, then they believe you and they see you as an authority. And not only that, but they see you as an authority, but also when you call out the problem, it makes it easy for them to just pick which one resonates with them the most, right? Which would you say resonates with you the most? Don't say, do any of these resonate with you? Because then they're going to say no. Say, which would you say resonates with you the most? Because now they have to pick, and they're going to resonate with one of them, or they're going to resonate with all of them. And then you just probe further, be like, okay, well, why is that the biggest problem? Have you done anything in the past to try and overcome that? Ask discovery questions based around that problem, and then the faster you probe, the faster you find the pain, and then the quicker you probe, the quicker you can close the meeting. It's that simple. Now, another one is, I'm aware that marketing agencies are prioritizing building out their sales infrastructures so they can reach more clients and essentially increase their revenue. I was calling to ask if this is something that you're also prioritizing. So it works in a similar way to the first opener. You're calling out the audience, you're calling out the industry, and then you're calling out a common theme that they're all working on, right? The common desired outcome, because a lot of people in a specific industry are looking for the same thing. If you're targeting B2B businesses, they're most likely looking to scale, or they're looking to reduce their customer acquisition costs. Whatever desired outcome is tied to your solution, that's what you want to call out. So if your desired outcome, or if you're a marketing agency, for example, and you help fitness coaches reduce their ad spend and increase their return on ad spend, then you would say something like, well, I'm aware that fitness coaches now are really prioritizing their customer acquisition costs, and one of the key things around that is reducing their ad spend so they can essentially have more money to invest into ads and increase their revenue. I was calling to ask if this is something that you're also prioritizing, because most of the time they're going to be prioritizing that as well, right? If every other company in that space are prioritizing that specific thing, then it's very likely that they're going to as well. So I was calling to ask if this is something you're also prioritizing. Yeah, it actually is. Be like, okay, well, what are you currently doing to achieve that, right? And then you go into discovery, right? So these are really good openers. They've worked really well for me. This is the main one that I use, this top one here. I typically hear when speaking with other fitness coaches that they're often frustrated with their current ad spend, cost of acquisition, not getting enough clients. Which would you say resonates with you the most? Call out the pain and then highlight it. Now, discovery questions. When you're cold calling, you need to be respectful of your prospect's time, right? Because you've called them completely out the blue. Your intention is to literally get in and get out. So you need to be really effective with the type of questions you ask. You can't spend too long on a cold call, specifically if you've asked them for 30 seconds, right? Like 30 seconds is that if you've asked for 30 seconds or for 2 minutes or whatever, then you best be quick right? Don't spend 5-10 minutes on a cold call because it's disrespectful of their time. So this is why this opener works really well, because you call out the problems very quickly. You don't have to faff around looking for pain. You've found the pain already. Now all you need to do is ask discovery questions to probe it, position your solution, and then the natural next step is to get them booked in on a call, right? So we're going to go into that in a little bit, but here are a few kind of discovery questions you can ask that are really powerful. So what are you looking to achieve in regards to increasing your close rate, right? What are you currently doing to increase your close rate? How has that been working for you? What would it mean for you if you were to solve this problem and achieve a 50% close rate today? Why? Why do you think that? Right? These are a few examples that you can use. At the end of the day, you want to find their current state. You want to understand that. You want to find their desired outcome. You already have an understanding of the pain. You just want to probe into that pain a little bit more. So these are a few discovery questions you can ask. Now, objection handles is kind of the same as if you're in a DM conversation. Like, objections aren't so much objections because there's not really much to object. It is more resistance. So you just need to be able to handle resistance and make your prospect feel heard, understood, and reassured. So it's the exact same way as you would in the DMs. So like I mentioned on some of the previous trainings, you just want to use the CAR or CAR framework to handle in objections. Now, the CAR framework, confirm, acknowledge, and redirect, this is kind of how you can position that on a cold call. So I totally get your skepticism and you're not alone. We're actually already helping X, Y, and Z competitor with the exact same thing. So that just kind of lowers their guard and gets them to understand that you're helping their competitors too. I appreciate you're busy and I can assure you I won't keep you long. I was really just looking to get an understanding of your current situation regarding X problem that you solve. I completely understand that you don't take cold calls. However, I wouldn't be cold calling if I didn't feel like this would be valuable. Is there any harm in me requesting 2 minutes of your time? Right? So these are common objections that you get. They're skeptical, they're busy, or they don't take cold calls. It's something that you hear quite often. But it's just all about remaining composed. Don't panic when you get resistance, right? It's like, that's when you can freeze up. Someone's not willing to talk to you, so you're like, I don't know what to say. Like, just stay calm, stay composed, and understand that you're here for a job. You just want to understand why they're resisting, right? Understand the core of that resistance, and you'll be completely fine, right? But obviously, use these, and again, phrase authentically to yourself. Just make note of everything, but adjust it to your own personality, basically. Now, once you've done all of that, the next step is to close for the meeting. Now, the close needs to be the natural next step, right? And you don't want to close too soon, right? And this is the exact same in a DM conversation. You only want to close when you have enough information to warrant the close, right? So once you're aware of their current situation, their desired outcome, and their pain, and you've probed enough so you understand exactly what that pain is, that's when you're ready to suggest the call. So you've got to keep it simple. You've got to stay composed. Sales reps often stutter or fumble their words here because they feel like they're asking for something. And it's the same if you're a closer, right? Closers can be resistant or not bad closers, but like untrained closers can be resistant on the close because they're worried about taking someone's money, right? That's how they think, right? And it's the same on a cold call. It's like you're resistant, you're hesitant because you don't know how the prospect's going to react, but you must deliver the close with pure confidence. So here's an example. Well, we've been able to help X to solve this problem before in Z days. If we were able to offer you a pathway to achieving desired outcome without having to XYZ, how open would you feel about learning more? Or how open would you be to learning more, right? Now, this works really well because you're basically calling out the reason why you believe this is a good close. We've been able to help your competitors to solve their problems around their increasing their close rates in literally 60 days. If we were able to offer you a pathway to achieving a 50% close rate and ultimately increasing your revenue to 100k without having to, hire more appointment setters, hire more closers, how open would you be to learning more about that? Right? It calls them out. It's like, yeah, actually, that does make sense. You're painting the picture for them. Or, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate this call was out of the blue. When works best to discuss this further? Tomorrow or Thursday? Right now, here is where you're saying, look, I've called you out of the blue here. It's a cold call. I really don't want to take up much of your time. We've spoken on the phone already for about 3 minutes. I appreciate this call was out of the blue. When works best for you to discuss this further? Tomorrow or Thursday? 2-option close, right? They have to pick either tomorrow or Thursday. This is obviously if you're calling them on like a Tuesday or something like that. So these kind of closes work very well, but obviously there are a number of other ways that you can go about this as well. Like, the overall point of a cold call is to basically confirm the conversation that you've had, and then basically dive into how you can help, and then suggest the close as the next step. So another way you can kind of do it is, okay, so I understand from the conversation that you want to achieve X result, and you're aware that you need to do Y in order to get there. Now, we've done this with a number of clients in the past. We've helped X competitor go from X current state to Y desire in 60 days, and we are confident that we're able to do the same for you. However, I don't want to go through this all with you on a cold call. I'd rather sit down. I can show you a bit more detail, and we can answer any questions you may have. How is tomorrow or Thursday for a quick 30-minute call? All right. You just want to paint the picture. Now, the growth challenge for this session is to create a personalized cold calling framework. Now, use all of the examples I gave you, the openers, the discovery questions, the close, all of that sort of stuff. And I just want you to mold a framework which is tailored to you. So include a series of openers, not just one. Include quite a few openers that you personally feel like you resonate with, a series of discovery questions, objection handles, and a close that you feel really, really comfortable with. So make sure this is a framework. Do not write a script, literally bullet points, just a framework. Share this in the accountability channel on the community, and use the role play sessions and the community to practice this again and again and again, right? Most of our role plays are going to be cold call focused. We will be doing DM style conversations as well, but cold calls is what mimics the best, or what creates the best sales reps. So if you can master a cold call, a DM conversation is going to be fucking easy. So turn up to the role play sessions, leverage your framework that works well with your offer, or a framework that you've just created for yourself, and just role play it again and again and again until it's second nature. But that's everything for today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace, guys.